Imagine being like Tina Turner, rising above the depths of abuse to become an inspirational icon. Sounds extraordinary, right? Her story holds invaluable spiritual lessons that you can tap into to navigate your own life's challenges. And even if you know Tina's story, trust me, there's more. So stick around and let's unearth these powerful secrets together. Because today, you just might find the key to transforming your own life. Aloha, y'all. I'm Daniel Aaron, your guide to vibrant living. And on this channel, you get entertainment, inspiration, and empowerment to live your greatest, most vibrant, thriving life. Tina Turner's story is phenomenal. I first learned about it in the movie What's Love Got to Do with This? 1993, powerful, beautiful movie. And later, when I was writing my book, The Art of Spiritual Leadership, 40 Laws to Transform Your Life in the World, when I was looking for how to convey spiritual practice, the power of spirituality, and how it can help any of us transform, I was thinking about who are inspiring stories here. Tina Turner came to mind because her story is just so beautiful and powerful. If you don't know, let's just break it down real quick. What happened for Tina Turner? She came from the deep south of the US. She was a nobody yet. She had talent, and somebody recognized that talent. The somebody is Ike Turner, who became her husband and promoter. You may know, of course, already that Ike Turner became an incredibly abusive husband to her. Before that, though, recognize this, the ambition that man had. Before they even got married, he charmed her, he promoted her, he elevated her, he took her out of what she knew. He actually trademarked her name, Tina Turner, before they were even married. She used to have a different name, Sandra Mae Bullock. So he was very deliberate in owning her, making her his commodity, his ticket to what? His ticket to the success that he could not create on his own. Now, it wasn't long before the momentum of their early success and his successful courtship of her, because in addition to being an abusive dude, he was also quite charming and he did have some talent. So there was a mixed bag going on for Tina Turner. So she learned to navigate this, to do the best she could with it. She learned to read his moods, to just try and soften the situation, to appease him in ways so that he wouldn't beat her so badly. And of course, she was mortified, embarrassed of this. This is one of the great tragedies for so many people who are abused. It's mostly women. Their embarrassment and even their blame of self keeps them from talking about it and sharing with other people and finding ways out of it. So even though she kept it secret, and of course he did his best to keep it secret, her black eyes, her cut lips, her broken bones, those were all known as the markings of Ike's ownership of Tina. No doubt, part of what kept Tina there also is their success must have been intoxicating for her. Through the 60s, their popularity grew and grew and grew. They toured with the Rolling Stones. She got cast in movies. They started getting hit songs and money rolled in for them. So in the midst of the success was the abuse. Two important things happened which changed the course of Tina Turner's history. One was that finally she didn't see any way out. She just couldn't figure out a way to leave him, a way to break free, and the pain and the trauma of it was finally too much, so she decided to kill herself. She swallowed 50 sleeping pills. Nonetheless, her attempt at suicide didn't work. One of the things she said about it was, quote, "This was not a classic cry for help." No, she really wanted to kill herself. So, when it didn't work, when she realized she was still alive, to her, that was a powerful sign that there's a reason. There's got to be a reason that she's still alive. She felt like she was meant to survive. Nonetheless, nothing really changed after this for her, because suicide was not her escape, and it was going to be many more years before she found a way of getting out of that situation. Still, after the suicide attempt, something changed for her. The way she put it was, from then on, there were two Tinas. There was the Tina who did her best to read Ike's moods. She tried to appease him. She tolerated his infidelity. She jumped in the middle of the night when he said, "We got to record a song." She dealt with all that stuff, just trying to minimize how much physical and emotional abuse she got. Meanwhile, there was another part of her that was alive. Right around that same time, a friend of hers introduced her to Buddhism, and specifically to Buddhist chanting. Now, at this point in the early 70s, yoga and Eastern spirituality was not popular in the US. It was not well known. For Tina, though, when she first embraced this idea of chanting, she knew she was onto something powerful. She also knew she was onto something that Ike would not like, so she kept it hidden. She started chanting. In my book, the title of the chapter where I tell Tina's story is Rock Bottom. The reason for that is because for a lot of us, for most people, before we can make a profound change, and as Bhagwan Rajneesh put it in the Yoga Sutra, before anybody can embrace yoga or the true path of spirituality or transformation, they have to hit a rock bottom. So for Tina Turner, that moment when she tried to kill herself, that was a rock bottom. That was, I want out, I am done with this lifetime. Later though, after the realization that she was meant to survive, when she got into chanting, what she started chanting was a Japanese chant, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. There's a saying in Buddhism that we can turn poison into medicine. And part of what we can learn from this specific chant, and really interesting, when Tina Turner learned the chant, she didn't actually know what it meant. She just knew that when she chanted it, she felt more peaceful. She felt more powerful. One of the ways that we can translate this particular chant is, from the darkest mud, the most beautiful flower grows. Again, Tina started chanting in secret, knowing that Ike would not like it. She chanted on a daily basis. And the way I would translate this, and the way I work with students and clients, is when we attend to spirit, when we engage in a, quote, spiritual practice, when we attend to, pay attention to that part of all of us that is invincible, eternal, always powerful, no fear, well then that part of us grows. So again, the way Tina put it is, there were two Tinas at that point. And while on the surface she was being the good Tina for Ike to get through things, meanwhile over here in secret she was cultivating power. And the more she attended to that spirit part of her, the more that power grew, and like a snowball going down a hill, eventually it became an avalanche. That's not to say that this was an easy time, and this was over many years. And in this time, she was still getting incredible abuse. Ike would throw hot coffee in her face. He would beat her. He would bring lovers over to their house right in front of her. One of the ways that she put it was, I couldn't remember what it was like not to have a black eye. When I was writing this part of my book and telling the story, I told my daughter about it. She's 16 now. At the time, she was about 13. And she asked a great question. She said, "Papa, why didn't she just leave?" That's a question that so many people who suffer from abuse ask themselves. It's a strange phenomena that it becomes very hard to actually leave one's abuser. The better question, though, is after all of that abuse, after all of that becoming normal and her getting beaten down over and over again, how is it that eventually she did summon the courage to leave? I submit for your mature spiritual transformative consideration that how has a lot to do with that spiritual power that she was cultivating. Another way we can look at it is everything in life exists as a vibration. We have a certain vibration or frequency that is our happiness, that is our health, that is our wealth. When things go too much above that, well, we find a way to pull it back down. When things go too much below that, well, we find a way to bring it back up. So over time, Tina Turner's vibration was one of a woman who was abused. Yet, through this spiritual practice, her vibration was steadily increasing. Another question my daughter asked me is, why didn't she fight back? Eventually she did, though for many years she didn't. And I love that my daughter asked that question. She's a martial artist like me, and so she's developed in herself the confidence to stand up for herself. Yet so many of us, and this was me in my early life, don't have that. One more little bit on this, because I want to make sure this is maximally useful to you before I tell you the climax and what happened for Tina, how she actually did transform with this. The way I speak about this often is two parts of all of us. The human animal part, concerned with survival, the human spirit part, concerned with transformation. And again, Tina was attending to both parts of this. That was her experience of leading a dual life. A client of mine asked me recently, well, how do I attend to the spirit part? How do I bring more of my connection to my infinite potential, to the divine? How do I activate that? The simplest answer is you pay attention to it. You make space for it. And that's, to me, why one of the most important aspects of living a vibrant life is on a daily basis attending to spirit, attending to that part of us which is always there, yet often invisible and neglected, right? Because the physical part, the survival part, that's so deeply hardwired into us and so prevalent in our culture, we don't need to do anything to attend to that. It's happening all the time. What we need is the ability to pause that for a minute and attend to this infinite, eternal, and invincible part of ourselves. I love something that Martin Luther King Jr. said about this. He was being interviewed by a reporter. It was in the mid-60s. And the reporter said, Dr. King, the demand on your time is so strong. There's so much being asked of you all the time. And I hear that you pray every day. How do you have the time to pray? MLK thought about it for a minute. And he said, well, that's true. I do pray every day. And on the days when the demand is even more, when it's more intense, on those days, I pray twice as much. What he was pointing to is what more and more of us are learning is that our connection to spirit is what empowers us to live a high vibration life. So what happened? 1976. Life was going on as usual, except Tina's energy, power, vibration had reached a threshold. When Ike did what he often did, which is get abusive, get obnoxious, and he was coming off a 5-day cocaine binge, he started hurling abuse and cursing at Tina, venting. This time though, she did something she'd never done before. She cursed right back. Well, that got his attention, that surprised him, and when he started hitting her, like usual, she started hitting him back. Well, he was really surprised by that. Got to be a full-on blowout in the car. So when they arrived at the hotel, her white suit, which had been impeccable, was splattered with blood. Her face was bruised. Ike tried to play it off by saying they were in an accident, which I'm sure nobody believed. And this scene is done so beautifully and powerfully in that movie I mentioned earlier, What's Love Got to Do with It? After that, though, they arrived, they went up to their hotel room. Tina then pretended for Ike like everything was just going to go back to normal. She encouraged him to take a bath, to take a nap. She ordered some food for him. Then, when he fell asleep, and for me now, when I think about what happened next, and I see it through the lens of the movie, I get emotional because the power and the adrenaline of her leaving, the moment when she finally made it out and she arrived at a hotel, beaten and bruised, and asked for a hotel room. It was so powerful. It was so beautiful. And the respect that she commanded throughout the rest of her life is phenomenal. And not just because she was such an amazing singer and performer. And by all rights, she was one of the most powerful, impressive performers that we've ever known. Part of what makes her so inspiring is she actually came from this level of abuse and through spiritual practice empowered herself to break free, showing us that that is possible for all of us, no matter where we've come from, no matter what our biography, our potential is infinite. I'm not giving you a panacea. I'm not giving you a Pollyanna speech that says, hey, if you meditate every day, everything's going to be okay. What I am saying, though, is you, like me, like Tina, we all have infinite capacity. We all have the potential to attend to invest in the part of ourselves that is invincible. And when we bring a higher level of consciousness, a higher spirituality, a higher vibration to our physical lives, things have to change sooner or later. For you, whatever is going on in your life, whether it's great, fantastic, awesome right now, or whether you're in the dark mud, whether you're dealing with some nasty stuff, I hope that you take from Tina's story that wherever you are, indeed, from the darkest mud, the most beautiful flower grows. If you stay with it, if you continue to believe in the possibilities. That's it. Thanks so much for watching, y'all. If you liked this video, you might like this one, and you might like this one. Aloha.